So today is a very short video. I'm going to talk about real quick what I taught the kids today about sparring. We're going, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here I was talking about the science part. A lot of people focus on the martial art, and the art of fighting, or the art of war. Same basic thing, right? Bing fa. You could call it wushu. It doesn't matter what it's called. What matters is if it works. And in the scientific part, we still have our variables and we still have our controls. Control is a euphemism for defense. And learning how to adjust yourself and to go from controlling yourself to being able to control the other person, to be able to control the situation, to be able to control the time before the situation. All right? When Ali would fight, he would start working on you ahead of the fight. Right? A person like Mike Tyson, he preferred to be able to control the other person, but he didn't necessarily have control of the situation, and it showed in his life. So the highest art of war is to be able to win without fighting, and the highest strategy is to defeat the other person's strategy. Now, as far as the different variables to work on your timing, work on the distances, so the half distance, zero distance, single distance, and double distance. For a review, right, this is single distance, this is half distance, this is zero distance, and this is double distance. And you also could think of greater than double distance when you think of weapons, and especially bats, and throw projectiles, firearms, that kind of thing. Right? So when you're sparring, you can't work on those ones, but you can work on the other distances and work on adjusting them. See what happens. I mean, think about here. If you use your right and your left hand, you got high and low, you've got a Putnam square of 4 different possibilities. If I use my right hand and I go low, if I get blasted, then I've got to learn something there. I've got to institute a control. So if I decide to go low with my lead side, I need to do something about that, right? Or I need to fake the distance to where I'm going low and I draw him out, and then when he pulls his hand back, then I catch him and I come in. Okay? And you can only learn that in the context of sparring. So we're sparring and moving. I go low, he goes to swing, and then I wait for him to pull back, and I follow him in. Work on changing the angles. One day, work on linear fighting, which is what most people do all the time. When they change the angle, they just dance around each other in a circle. That's not changing the angle. That's just changing where the line is. Right? Then you got L-stepping, where you're actually changing angles. So if he comes at me, coming to the side, getting around him. Lomachenko is constantly changing the angle. Really great fighter, Sugar Ray Leonard, always changing the angle and getting around the fighter. Then you got your V-stepping and diagonals. Now, V-stepping is more specifically to multiple people, but in general, just working on diagonals, coming in and constantly changing that angle. And again, when I come in, I want to switch hands. If he's got a guard, I want to come in, I want to get control of that guard and try and get control of his head. Again, controlling the other person being that next level of the fighting skill. Then you've got your circular, learning how to get around the person. Right? And then my teacher, he had a thing he called a straight line curve, to where I can go straight, but without going straight. Going just a little around them. They don't expect it. Then, of course, you can vary speed and power. Now, in Western boxing, pretty much the highest speed is always best. Always the highest speed. And my former teacher used to say, the closer you are, the faster you have to go. You can test that. Otherwise, you can play real slow games in tight, but you're probably going to get jaw jacked. Okay, so when you're in tight, you have to move quick and really set yourself up. Of course, I want to control those legs. I want to control the distance. I want to control the angle. If it's Western boxing, it's going to be this kind of stuff, right? So that when he's swinging, I'm going underneath, and I've got a block here, and I've got my changing angle. Now, if he goes to throw a hook there, I'm coming over here. And I want to use the arms, again, to create control of the situation, control the structure. Now, working on power, again, one of those things we pretty much always assume strong power is going to be better. But believe it or not, there is a use for soft power. And little things like if we have our guard up, like flipping his hands like that, it kind of messes with him. It's real soft, right? So he doesn't know when I'm going to throw really hard something. He doesn't know. And so, working on power, also different techniques. If I do this, how much power does it create? A little story there. I was in a bar in Kansas, in Lecompton, which is where KU is. and I don't even know the name of the bar, but it had one of those punch machines. My cousins weren't ready yet, so I was like, well, I don't know any of these people. Who cares what my number is, right? So it said on the thing, it said like 430 or something, or 480 or something like that. I don't remember how much. So I got up and I tried out different punches, and I was a little disappointed with some of the different styles, some of the different punches. I couldn't get this thing to go over the 500 mark. I really wanted to beat that record, so that's when I did the super punch, and it went up over 600. And I learned about how important physics is, and to not have any bias against it. Now, is it easy to pull off a super punch in the context of a fight? No, because you're on one leg, and you're off balance, and you're creating all this extra power by utilizing the body. But the point being, holding to a specific style, I might be limiting my power or my speed or how I can do things. Every punch, every strike has its moment of strength. It has its zone of effectiveness, and it has the right time to use it and the wrong time to use it. A haymaker, well placed, is exactly the right punch. If the guy drops his guard, why not load up like a baseball bat? Why not? It's going to generate huge amounts of power. Probably more than the power that I was generating with all those other technically correct punches. Not as much as a super punch, but I think a haymaker can be extremely effective. However, if you do it and you end up like this, and it wraps around his head, he's going to hook me right here. Oh, it's going to be over for me. One of the great knockouts the other night, the same night of the Lomachenko fight, last one, was they both went to throw hooks, but one guy, he pulled back here, and the other one, he got him right in SI-17, just right like that. So they were both thinking the same thing. Happens all the time in fighting. So think of your striking arts from a scientific method. Alter your variables. Learn something about the other person. It is a relationship, and learn something about yourself. And then try to control the things you can control to eliminate variables to see where you're screwing up. What are you doing that leaves your head open and creates a bad situation for you to possibly be injured? Because later on, when it comes to reality, you need that. It's all got to be in your body. You can't be intellectualizing on the street. All right, thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video.